so be right back. Folks. Well, we talked about the first part of the tour, which was the creation of the underground itself, or the tunnels. Didn't last too long. Well, the history of the underground got altered in 1907 because they found the plague down here, bubonic plague. The plague came from rats that were coming off ships, and the fleas in the rats carried the plague, so the city formally condemned the underground. But then it went into multiple uses. You know how human nature is. Even though this area was condemned, well, it was a space to use, and it was used. Building owners, for instance, would use it as a combination of a junkyard and a dumping ground. And you've seen that as we walk along today. A lot of this debris came from a strong earthquake in 1949. Seattle experienced a 7.1 on the Richter scale. So they took the rubble from above and they dumped it down here. And the underground at that time was very popular with Seattle politicians. If you were a politician back then, you could go to the voters and say, I'm doing a great job. Do you see any crime on the streets in Seattle? No crime in the streets. It was all kept down here. Combination of opium dens, bootleg liquor, illegal gambling, and yes, prostitution. Now, when it came to prostitution, this is where our founding fathers, nicknamed by Bill Spadell, Sons of the Prophets, decided to rear their ugly heads. Not only did they deny prostitution existed, they decided to make money off of it. So towards the end of the 1800s, the city of Seattle decided to do an occupational survey so that they could properly assess taxes. Well, after the first survey, the city found out something very interesting. Out of a population of roughly 25,000 people, 2,500 young women listed their occupation as seamstress. The city was just a little confused with that. For the most part, the population consisted of miners, loggers, sailors, and dock workers. Pretty rough crowd. I don't think they really cared about mending a hole in their pants. The city decided to do further research. They got together a very elite group of male volunteers. And after 2 months of very exhaustive research, this is what they found out. Those 2,500 young women lived in a 3-block area by Occidental Avenue. It was called the Whitechapel neighborhood. And not only that, they couldn't find one single sewing machine. The city got hit pretty quick. But the respectable people in town wanted to shut down the sewing industry in Seattle. Well, once again, Bill Spadell's nickname for our founding fathers, Sons of the Prophets, not religious. You know what they saw? Opportunity, they saw dollar signs. Well, they needed a way to get around this system. The easiest thing for them to do was to come up with a tax. It turned out to be a $10 a head tax per seamstress per month. It may not sound like much, but if you combine that with liquor and gambling taxes, it turned out to be almost 90% of Seattle's gross income. Of course, that's changed today. Today it's 95%. The leading house of sewing was run by a woman named Madame Lou Graham. By leading house, it caters to all the important male citizens, like the mayor, the police chief, the fire chief, and the politicians. They were foolish enough to try to take Madame Lou to court towards the end of her sewing career. Truth is, a rookie cop made that arrest. He wasn't quite sure how things were supposed to work in Seattle. They went through with the trial. Trial lasted all of 15 minutes. Madame Lou had great character witnesses. The mayor, the police chief, the fire chief, and the judge. Now there is a very sad ending to her story. When she died, Madame Lou left her considerable fortune to the Seattle City school system. Not one single school in this area is named after Madame Lou. Bill Spadell didn't think that was right. To partially correct that, Bill made Madame Lou one of the Sons of the Prophets, or our founding fathers, or our founding mother, so to speak. And the truth of Madame Lou was, well, she was the #1 business person in town, providing the #1 service in town. To put that in perspective, the ratio back then was 10 men for every 1 woman in town. It was a viable service. Now I realize some people have a problem with this part of our history. The truth is, the city of Seattle considers this a big part of its history. Madame Lou's second house of sewing was built right after the fire. That building still exists today. It's just up the hill on 3rd and Washington. Today in front of the building by the entrance, a bronze historic plaque that makes it very clear what she did for a living. And it was so accepted back then. It was right across the street from the Roman Catholic Church. Now today, one of the ironies of that building, today for the most part, that building now houses quite a few law offices, the world's two oldest professions.
Kick me.